and welcome to Sarah's Stamping Retreat. I was recently just playing with my POSCA paint pens and I came up with a technique that I just had to share with you guys because I think it's a really nice way of adding colour directly to black cardstock but still maintaining the detail of the stamps. So bear with me because it'll look like a hot mess in the middle, but watch until the end to see how we add the detail back in after we've added the paint. We're going to be using this Enamel Flowers stamp set from Altenew. Now I've got this piece of black paper and I'm using the Stampin' Up! Whisper White ink, and I'm going to stamp these images in white onto the black paper. And usually if I was doing this kind of technique I would mask it off, but we're not really going to see these white lines at the end, so I'm not too worried about that today. So I'm just taking all different elements from the set and stamping them. So I've created this kind of like border around that bottom edge, and let's do a smaller border around the this top opposite corner as well. So this stamping isn't perfect, my stamp pad's a bit patchy, so I'm getting darker and lighter bits of white and stuff. I probably need to find myself a new white stamp pad, but we've got what we need, which is kind of like an outline to work with. Then I've got 4 of these POSCA pens. I've got the Aqua green, I've got the light pink, I've got the light green, and I've got the apricot. I'm going to use those to colour this today. And I'm going to use those because they work really nicely on a black surface. And they've got quite a wide nib, so we're going to lose the detail from the stamps, but we're going to add that back in later. I probably should have let those dry more before I added in the aqua, so I'm going to go in and do all of the other green leaves and then go back in with the aqua over the top. In fact, I might do the leaves and the flowers and then go back in. I'm going to turn this round so that I don't smudge the areas that I've already done. All those leaf areas seem quite dry now, so I'm going to go back in with the aqua on the leaves. And that's working much better now. Before it was kind of like taking the light green paint away. Now it's kind of sitting on top of it. So I'm going to use this thank you sentiment from the set. And because I've done all this work on this, I don't want to take the risk of misstamping, so I'm going to use my stamp positioning tool to position the thank you stamp. I'm going to just use my embossing buddy to prep the card, and then I'm going to heat emboss this with white embossing powder. And I just went over the flowers and leaves as well, just to make sure none of that is still wet. So obviously we've lost all the detail on our areas now. So then I'm going to go back in and I'm just using my jet black Altenew ink for this. And I'm going to stamp back over those images to try and add back in that detail. And you'll notice that some of my stamping isn't perfect. It hasn't lined up exactly, but I'm not too worried about that. Like, it's done what we wanted it to in terms of it's added in that extra bit of detail. So now I'm going to use my Sigma MICRON pen to add in some more detail. And I'm just going to add some lines up these. I'm going back over those stamped lines as well, because the stamped lines are a bit lighter than the lines that I'm creating with my pen. So just to kind of like blend them in a little bit. And then annoyingly I forgot to press play when I was just filming the end of that there. But you can see I've just added a circle pattern in the middle of the flowers just to offset that a bit. And then I've just glued it to the front of a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 black card blank. And look how beautifully those colours stand out on the black cardstock. It's a really nice way of making cards with a black card blank. I might even actually just add a few little dots of colour around, just as I would usually if I was using enamel dots or something. And there's our card finished. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's card. If you did, I'd appreciate you clicking like below, and you can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future videos. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also notify you when I've got a new video available. All of the products that I've used for today's video are listed in the description below, and there's also a link there to my blog where you can find a picture supply list if that helps you find what you're looking for. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.